good evening. Let's actually go over to Twitch. Start the stream. And we'll go there. Go here. Over to my channel. And there's nobody here. While we wait for folks to show up, tonight's sponsor is. I need to mute. There we go. Once again, tonight's sponsor is sugar-free Kool-Aid and some vanilla cream sparkling water. Hello, folks. So, I don't know if you were here last week or not, but I've been lubing up the switches on this mechanical keyboard. Here's how they sound without being lubed. Here's how they sound with being lubed. Just a little more, as I always say, buttery and smooth. Only got half done last week because I ran out of lube, so I have gotten a new pin of lube. And I think we're really just ready to get started. I don't think there's really too much to talk about here today. I'm also playing this conversation game from Amy Bayo. This is what we were doing last week. I'm trying to. Oh my gosh, look at my hairline. Ugh. Okay. I just grab some cards here. I just watch my viewer count plummet as I try to pull cards out. Okay. First question while I work on this. I know your favorite kind of cake is blank. Oh, I guess I need to do it like this. Let's see. I know your favorite kind of cake is blank. Well, I promise this isn't, I don't see this stream as an opportunity to just talk about how special and interesting I am. But, as some of you know, I actually eat very low carb. I have for almost 3 years now. So actually, I don't eat a whole lot of cake. I'm trying to remember what my favorite cake used to be. What's your favorite cake? Tell me in the chat. Think I was always more. This isn't a shameless attempt to get Suzanne to promote my live stream, but I think I was always more of a pie person than a cake person back when I was eating stuff like that. But let me think. What kind of cake did I like? What's the cake that's, I guess it's chocolate and the frosting has like coconut in it and walnuts? I think I remember liking that. Hello, game biologist. Fudgy the well. Oh, that's a good point. Ice cream cake. Okay, that's my new answer. Ice cream cake is my favorite cake. Yum, yum. Would an ice cream sandwich count as an ice cream cake? Because if so, the kind with the 2 big chocolate chip cookies, I like that. This will probably be a fairly short stream tonight. I don't really have a whole lot to do. So there's the open topic. Open topic for tonight's stream. What mundane tasks should I be doing in future streams? Since I'm not really a play board games kind of guy. Well, there's a Freudian slip. Yes, my whole brand is me not being a board game kind of guy. I meant, though, specifically, I don't really see myself playing board games online, that kind of guy. Oh, yeah, German chocolate cake. That's what I was thinking of. I don't even really think that's my favorite. I think it's just the first cake I could think of off the top of my head. So maybe, yeah. So there's the first question. Next question. Hi, Amy, if you're watching these questions. I know you think our justice system is blank. Well, I feel like anyone, I was going to say anyone who follows my Twitter, but really just anyone alive at this moment in time knows that that answer is kind of to give me. The answer is that, you know, our justice system's pretty screwed up right now. I know there are a lot of good people trying their best, but I know there are a lot of bad actors too. Hi, Hart. Thanks for coming. Hart, what's your favorite kind of cake? You missed that question. And the other question, this is sort of the running topic, is what should my next streams be? What mundane tasks should I do with my next streams? Wasn't really expecting us to get into the justice system, but if anyone else in chat would like to weigh in on heavy matters like that, please feel free. All right. Boop. All right. I did say cake. One of my questions earlier from this game is, what is your favorite kind of cake? And I don't really eat a lot of cake, so I didn't really know what to say. I came up with a German chocolate cake, but then Karen mentioned ice cream cake, so that became my new answer. And so now, those of you joining in, we are all caught up. Maybe I'll get into painting minis. I'll just do live streams where I paint minis. You know, no one else does that, right? So I'll be the very first ever. Actually, I saw a guy on Patreon, I think, who had like, he's making thousands a month painting miniatures. I was jealous. What could I do? Maybe every night I'll live stream queuing up my tweets for the next day. Actually, that's kind of funny. Maybe I'll do that. Just talk about why I'm doing this. Watch me construct a joke. Let's see. Next question. I know one of your talents is... So while we're waiting on, or while I'm thinking of an answer, while you're thinking of an answer, Ada in the chat says she's having cake for her son's birthday tomorrow. Do you know what kind of cake it is? I know you can't have it, you said, but... Yes, I like that. Make everyone feel like they're kind of a part of the crew. While we're talking about all this, I'm going to be doing a skit, I don't know, at some point. On my list of skits to do is to do a skit about me supposedly writing my novel live on stream. But it's really just me staring at a blank screen for like 2 hours. And the way I'm going to accomplish that, so I don't have to just stare at a blank screen for 2 hours, is I'm going to put a silent film on my computer and just watch it, so it looks like I'm just staring at Microsoft Word, but I'm really staring at I'm just watching like a Charlie Chaplin movie. And now that I've told you all about it, I don't have to actually do it. See? Twitch is great. Also, I came up with that joke before I started actually live streaming. So I feel like now, if I publish it, people would just assume it was an actual stream and not watch it. Let's see. A marble cake with custard filling. Oh, man, that sounds great. With a mermaid design. Ah, that's fantastic. Lizzie is recommending some mundane tasks. This is great. Knife sharpening. Sleeving cards. Now, sleeving cards is a great idea. Whittling, yes. I could get into whittling. I wonder... I bet there's some like whittling influencer whose day job is whittling all day on camera, living his best life. Uh-oh. Does anyone remember which one? Okay. Or I could just do this. Send me your mechanical keyboards. I'll lube them up. What was the question? I know one of your talents is... So I think instead of talking about talents you already know, we should talk about talents we don't know. What are some talents you don't know, or that people don't know about you? Those of us who have been following each other for years, what's a talent you didn't know you have? I've mentioned this in passing in the past. Oh, I know who Lizzie Speaks is. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us. I've mentioned this kind of in passing, but there was a period in my 20s and early 30s when I worked as a professional magician. So that's a talent you didn't know. I should talk about that a little bit more because it's really fascinating. Or it's fascinating to me. I mean, it's my life, right? I wasn't like a what was that guy's name? Chris Angel type magician. I was like a Darren Brown type. I was a mentalist. Made about, I don't know, a quarter of my income, maybe half my income. Keyword will turn there. It was fun. So I had two acts. The most popular one, or the one that I did more often, like I said, was sort of a Darren Brown. This was before he became really big. He had a lot of specials that was about psychology. And so my patter, see if I can remember it. My patter was, 1 second, let me just. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I am looking forward to giving you a presentation of the oddities of the psychological mind. Everything you're about to see tonight is accomplished through my in-depth study of psychology. I can read body language, micro-expressions, and together, you and I are going to explore what the mind is capable of. My promise to you is that tonight there will be no sleight of hand. Everything you see is going to be explained by magic. I'm sorry. Everything you see is going to be explained by science, by me, once we're finished. And then I proceeded to do an hour and a half of sleight of hand. Because nobody can actually read minds. And so, yeah, I like the idea of actually becoming a paint-by-numbers streamer. I wonder if there are people doing that. I bet there are. Let me pause my discussion of my magic career and say one of my followers, or one of my mutuals, is a woman named out of East Lansing, actually close to or right at Karen. Hey, Daryl. Who is named Puzzle Bitch, and at least the first half of that name is accurate because she does crosswords on Twitch. It's really delightful. She's a great follow. I think it's at Puzzle Bitch. I don't know. I hope I don't get demonetized now. So yeah, so like I said, I had a whole spiel about how everything you're going to see tonight is easily explained by an in-depth study of psychology, and then proceeded to just do sleight of hand. And I think about that a lot in the cooking realm. You see guys like Jay Kinji, Lopez Alt, and Alton Brown, and to a lesser extent Adam Ragusia. All sorts of guys who, and just food sciences in general, who rely on science to explain everything they do. I think all those are great. I'm not a huge fan of Ragusia, but I think Alton Brown and definitely Kinji are great. But I think a lot about how much of what they talk about is just science in quotes, sort of like how my magic tricks were allegedly science. I don't know. Anyway, so that was one act I had. And the other act I had was a more standard fake psychic act, where can read people's minds. And the punchline there is that the 2 acts were identical. It was just the patter at the beginning was different, that's all. Exact same thing. But yeah, it was interesting because people, when I did my psychic act, I'd occasionally get like hecklers or people who just didn't believe, like me, don't believe in psychic abilities. And when I did my science act, nobody ever, if you explain it as science, especially if I was playing like universities, there were lots of, nobody was ever like, wait a minute, this is just magic. Or at least not to my face. Let's see, catching up on the Slack. I thought you were up there. One of the, I've actually been in East Lansing quite a bit. One of / the love of my life was from East Lansing. Maybe it was you. So yeah, when I got bored of doing my science act, I'd do my psychic act. I a lot of times performed with my friends Christian and James, who had a really, really clever psychic act. It was great. They were a couple. They were married probably. But they developed this entire communication just from where their eyes went. So everything was coded, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 as a quadrant. And so just by making eye contact on stage and looking, it's probably hard to see in the mask, but just by looking at each other on stage and looking, they could communicate to each other. So, if James wanted to communicate to Christian, if this lady is thinking of, the 3 of clubs or whatever, this is a really simplistic example. They had a number for the 3 of clubs, so you'd look up and look left or whatever. The other thing that was really genius about their show was that James was the MC of the show. So people didn't actually even know that him and Christian were partners. I always thought that was super clever. So James would come out, welcome everybody, and basically just act like he worked at the club, worked at the theater. He'd make some announcements, some local announcements, thank everybody. And also he'd ask people to sign up for the mailing list, which is important. I'll tell you about that in a second. I wasn't really doing dowsing, but yeah, I see what you mean. So he'd ask people to, sign up for their mailing list. He'd introduce me or whoever else was opening for them. And then he just introduced Christian as the act. And nobody really knew. I mean, especially if you didn't go to this theater, this club very often, you had no way of knowing that this dude didn't actually work there and that he was in on it and he was feeding Christian information. And you just thought he was the MC. I always thought that was so smart and so clever. So I mentioned the mailing list. And say, hey, in between acts, be sure to sign up for the theater's email list. But what he was really doing was they'd take the email list and him and Christian, this was 10 years ago. I'm sure it's even more accurate now. 10 years ago, they were taking the people who were signing up for the list. They were getting their email addresses and they were quickly Googling them and seeing what results came up. And then Christian on stage would be like, I feel like there's someone here who's involved in horseback riding. Is that true? Is there somebody? And someone, oh, that's me. And it's like, are you from Arizona? I feel like you're from Arizona. Because they had found, while I was on stage, they had Googled someone's email address and discovered that it was, that they were on like a mailing list, for example, for like an Arizona horse farm. I always thought that was super smart. Yeah, I think John Edward did that too. the psychics, the 1-900 psychic numbers too would have caller ID, and so they'd get your phone number, and when you called in, and then they could do like a reverse lookup and like, you know, see what was associated with that phone number so that they could know things about you. But you know, the truth is, you know, I've done some of this too. The truth is, you don't really need a whole lot of cheats like that. People are so into cold reading. You know, you say something universal, but claim you're psychic. People just love it, and they just eat it up. I'm going to say something slightly controversial now that I might end up cutting out of my live stream when I do the edit. I've been thinking about cold reading a lot because I've kind of embraced, after years of only half embracing it, I've really embraced the fact that I have adult ADD. You know, I take medicine for it and just kind of struggle with it my whole life. So I've signed up for some, you know, I'm following different people on Twitter, Tumblr who talk about it. One thing I've noticed, and I'm sure this is true in other communities as well, is that there are a lot of the really relatable ADD content, adult ADD content, is essentially cold reading, or it's just very general in a way that, I don't know. I mean, if people take comfort from it, that's great. But for me, it's a little hard to, you know, when I say like, oh, you know, you might have ADD if, LOL, you put off making a difficult phone call. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody does that. I think that's why it's called a difficult phone call. Which, you know, again, I suffer from it myself. And just today, I had to go to the bank during a pandemic because I put off doing a phone call for 2 weeks until it was past the time. So I guess that's my controversial take, is that in some communities, things that are very general get taken to be very specific. What about you guys? What talents do you have that we don't know? So I'm actually on my third row here, which means this is going to be a pretty short live stream this week. We'll pull another question here in a second. Let me just get... everyone, what is something... Ada, that's ridiculous. You can't think of something? You're a fantastic photographer. You're a great mom. You're funny on Twitter. What is something that comes easy for you? Is the next question. What is something that comes easy for you? Let me think. What would I say comes easy for me? If I'm not answering this in characters, you know, Eize the braggart, the thin-skinned braggadocio. Oh, that's great, Karen. Karen's answer is to craft a letter to point out the shortcomings of people in authority. That's fantastic. What's something that comes easy to me? You know, it's probably not the... It's probably not the answer this card was looking for, but I can say one thing that comes easy to me, if I can misinterpret that as what's something that I take for granted because it is or it was easy for me. I don't think a lot about being tall. I'm a little over 6'2". And as you can tell, at 46, I still have way too much hair. So that's something I never really thought about too much until I became friends with people who were full of anxiety about their height or their hairline. It's never really occurred to me. Privilege. Daryl says math has always come really easy to him. That helped me into my career. What's your career, Daryl? Are you a mathematician? Are you a math magician? Just a little bit more. What else? What else comes easy for our viewers? I don't want to say the obvious or maybe expected cliche thing that being funny comes easy. I don't think that's necessarily true. If I do my live stream of me planning out my day's tweets, you'll see that it actually doesn't come easy to me. Ah, Daryl's a forecaster. Well, it makes sense that math would be important there. For example, I really wanted to tweet something really quickly, but then I had to, well, get on the phone with the bank. But I wanted to get something out for 1 o'clock. So my tweet today about how if you, that there's a contest to meet me, and that second place is 30 minutes, but first place is only 10 minutes. I feel like I should have spent a little bit more time with that. That one, being funny doesn't come easy to me. I feel like the construction was a little off, and it would have done better if I'd spent maybe 10 minutes trying to get it right. Just required a little bit too much setup, I guess. So I wouldn't say that writing funny tweets comes easy to me. Just work at it. And actually, that circles back around to doing crosswords. I used to do crosswords quite a bit. I haven't done one in years at this point, but or you know, when I hang out with my friends and we're watching Jeopardy, one thing I hear is about, you know, you're so good at this, you're so good at this, you're so good at crosswords. The thing about those is that I don't think that crosswords or Jeopardy really makes you necessarily that much smarter. It just makes you better at doing crosswords and better at playing Jeopardy with your friends. I think to an extent, or not to an extent, to a great extent, Twitter is sort of the same way. It doesn't necessarily make you funnier or better, it just makes you better at Twitter. But I like it. I'm not deleting my account anytime soon. Oh, thank you, Daryl. Thank you. I don't know if you guys remember my Mr. Games thread where someone wrote to me and said, hey, can I ask you a serious question? Why are all your jokes about people being sad? Which was a great compliment to me. And actually, the reason, I've mentioned this on here, one of the reasons that I have this gigantic maggoty beard these days is for a skit that hopefully I'm filming tomorrow so I can get rid of this thing. And it is another skit about somebody being sad. Maybe even crying, like the Weeping Meeple. Maybe all my skits are going to be me pretending to cry on camera. No, Karen, you're doing Twitter right by not caring and just throwing things out. People who care about their metrics, you know, when I talk to them in DMs, we all say the same thing, that, you know, I always go back and forth between, I should spend more time on these, you know, really make sure they're worded right. Then they'll do better. Or just say, oh, it's just a tweet, just throw it out there. And I think a lot of people will say, you know, if you watch these sorts of things, you know, a lot of people point out that the ones that go big are never the ones you expect. I mean, my biggest tweet of all time is that one about Henry Cavill painting miniatures. And I did that in my standing up in my bathroom waiting for my shower to get hot. I used way too much lube there. Where's my... Here's a little name drop for you guys. Was, I guess, a decade ago. A friend of mine was good friends with the musician Matthew Sweet. Did Girlfriend and Sick of Myself. And so this was my college best friend. He moved to LA and he became, I guess they're still really good friends with Matthew Sweet, the musician. And so I spent not hundreds of hours, but I spent a fair amount of time talking to Matthew Sweet, the musician. And he said, now this is a very Eize-like comparison to compare tweets to hit songs. But he was talking to someone else who was a musician that was at the house. And he said that every single time a song of his has gotten popular, you know, his reaction was always, oh man, that one? Really? That one? Huh. I wish I'd known. I would have spent more time on it. I think it's probably the same with tweets too. Okay. I think we might be done with looping. Boy, you guys got me on the topic of Twitter. Now this gonna be a 9-hour stream. For me, I think I think about is just kind of general joke construction. Like, where does the punchline go? A lot of times, you want to be careful to make sure the punchline happens at the right place in the tweet itself. I don't know if that really makes sense or not. What? Oh, it's the tab key. Is that right? What's going on here? We'll figure it out. Well, you know, if you want more, it's not, if you want more followers, there's always ways to do it. I just don't know that, you know, understatement of the year. I don't think too many people care as much as I do about these things. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I don't care. Obviously, that would be a huge lie. But part of the character, too, is pretending I care a lot more than I do, which is still a lot, but, you know. Let's see. What was the last question? Something comes easy for you? I think we're probably done with that one. Next question. What do you want your tombstone to say? Let's see. Karen in the chat says you don't know what to do with followers. You know, tell them to follow me. That's, you know. Daryl says he doesn't want more followers. You know, and Ada has a really good point here about how it's a game. And it totally is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In fact, I was thinking about this the other day. I've been trying to come up with a way to talk about it, but honestly, for me, Twitter has taken the place. Well, and not taken the place. I never really played them, but for me, it's almost like World of Warcraft or EVE Online or a game like that. It's like an MMO. You know, it's something that you put the right sorts of effort into, and you get this. But then after a while, you learn, oh, if I do this, then I get this out of it. What do I want on my tombstone? So I actually have this picked out. I'm going to be cremated. So I won't actually have a tombstone. Does anybody have a tombstone? Other than that poor guy who died eating library paste. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I do have a will, and my will attends to things like what to put on my urn, etc. And also, yes, I know this is a very Eize thing, but yes, I do have things in my will about what to tweet for my account, including, this is not a joke, including one of them is just low caps, no punctuation, LOL, I'm dead. I don't know, that cracks me up. So I know that on my tombstone, on my urn, I've specified that I would like it to say everything happened so much, which is a reference to, if you're very online, it's a reference to the Horse eBooks Twitter bot that turned out not to be a Twitter bot. And one of the things he posted was, and it really caught on, was everything happens so much. And I just think that's really lovely. Let's see, Karen says her parents have a tombstone for their plot and are planning on being cremated. The sexton kept banging the mower into it because he considered the imagery on it to be porn and he wanted it gone. Can you please explain basically every word of that? There's pornographic imagery on a tombstone? That's wild. And so yeah, everything happens so much is going to be on mine. I have my funeral planned out pretty well. I could tell you guys about it, or maybe not. Maybe that's like when Mark Butt said this is exactly what I thought an Eize stream would be. It's me going into detail about my funeral plans. Let's see. How about you guys? Anybody have something, even if it's just a joke, something you'd like your tombstone, your headstone to say? All right. Now this is the tab, right? Yeah. Oh, I know. That was the backspace. That's what I can figure it out. So to actually talk about. Bye, Daryl. Thanks for joining us, man. Oh, that's interesting. Oh well, that seems like a really awesome image to have on your headstone. That's sweet. So I don't know if you guys can see here, but you see how this key is different from this key? So this is the backspace, and it has this little metal, I don't know how well you guys can see this. It has this kind of metal brace that the key locks into. But it needs a couple stabilizers on the bottom, which I don't have. So for now, I'm not going to use it. So it's going to sound... So this one is stabilized. The two stabilizers are only 50 cents, but shipping is $4.20. So I haven't bought them, but now that I hear it, I think getting rid of that is probably worth $4.70. I've really been enjoying these kind of low-key hanging outs. You know what people say, hanging outs. You know, like a normal human. And my 2 there. That's a good point, Ada. Maybe I should just, start embracing my mistakes. Never backspace. Might even be better for me. F1. Okay, everybody, what is your favorite time in history? What's your favorite time in history? I'm going to be a little cheesy here and say not like right now because things are pretty bad, but just the modern era is probably my favorite time because, There wasn't Twitter until now. I'm just kidding. But you know, medicine, health, general, you know, nutrition, science, internet. Let's see. Ada says between the 9th and 11th century Britain and Scandinavia. That's great. So those are Viking days, I believe. So sort of like the last stream, we were talking about IKEA kitchens. I think this question is another IKEA kitchen in a sense. That like anything that someone answers, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's awesome. That's that right there. Now that's the one I want to live in. And then someone else is like 1920s New York. I'd be like, oh God, yeah, totally. Like I don't think I'd want a time machine that was just to one destination. I would want to be able to hop all over the place. So assuming the modern era isn't the right answer, what would be my, when would I want to, probably 1920s New York is a pretty good answer. Or Edwardian England, as they say over there. That would be a good one. The Restoration would be interesting. I don't know. What about you guys? What are your favorite historical periods? I think mine would probably be the UK from, I don't know, post-Victorian up through, I don't know, World War II, maybe. But, you know, I'd like to see all of them, frankly. Okay. Closing. Oh, Karen has an answer here. I'd seen an interview years ago where a woman, someone famous, I don't remember who it was. I said the men all years. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even as someone who has a ton of privilege because of my race and my gender and my incredible good looks, I still wouldn't want to, you know, live at any other time. So, guys, I hate this beard so much. I cannot wait to get rid of it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Goes there. I don't know where the rest of these keys go. I gotta open a new tab here. This is the WASD keyboard. Sorry for the jiggling screen, the camera. Please show me your layout. I spent $175 on this keyboard. Holy Moses. Let's see. Come on, show me the layout, for Christ's sakes. Okay, we got print screen. Guys, I'm not going to be able to see chat for a few minutes while I'm doing this. So we got print screen. Pause goes here. All these keys I use all the time, like pause and scroll lock. And I should confess that if you guys remember from my very first stream, I was doing this small white keyboard. I'm actually really loving the work I did on that. But as I was working on it, I was finalizing it right before the stream. It's the reason I was late. I was watching keyboard reviews, and I saw a new keyboard that seems to really fit what I'm looking for. I might end up buying that. All right, I'm going to come back over here. Let's see. Exactly, Ada. That's what I was saying. In any time and place. I mean, shoot, you're going to turn down a trip to a different time? All right. So, if you guys remember how it sounded before, very clicky clack. It sounded like this, actually. So I don't know if you can. I'm very happy with this. I think it sounds great. I don't have a way, so it lights up. The little white parts here, it shines through. So, if you hear, though, let's see, I think I need to can you see? The space key is a little lower over here than it is over here. So I need to fix that. That's not something I'm going to do on the stream because it involves me having to move the board around all over the place. So I haven't seen Timeline. I don't even recognize that name. Weird. I'm usually pretty good with movies. So, yeah, so I think I'm done with everything I can do. I need to fix the space key. It also has a little bit of a rattle here. But I think that's everything I can do. Guys, thanks for hanging out. It's kind of a short one tonight, but I finally got this guy up! Exclamation point. Guys, thanks for joining me. Yeah, why do I keep saying guys? I've tried so hard to replace guys with a more non-gendered folks. So folks, thank you for joining me. I've had a really good time. It just said that my camera disconnected. Okay, news to me. So that's probably a great time to say goodnight. I don't know how many more of these I'm going to do. I've had a lot of fun, so I just need to find something else to do. I don't know that me just like talking into this screen will do it. On Monday, I did a live stream of a solo RPG, and that was a lot of fun, so I'll probably do some more of those. All right, guys, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you for joining in. And I guess that's it. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Hart. Thanks, Ada. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Daryl. Thanks, Elizabeth. Bye, guys.